We're going to look some more on the motivational theorists, including Elton Mayo as well, and also Abraham Maslow, plus a couple other ones in this section and the next one. They really are foundational. And the reason they're foundational is because the works, they could be a little bit older, except for the fact that we have built numerous different motivational theories on top of theirs. So these are probably the most relevant ones on the aspect of motivation. Here is a picture of the actual Hawthorne studies that we talked about. They're actually working on spindles for rotary dial telephones. And this is where they changed the lighting nut. And it gave birth to the human-based motivation, showing that employees behave differently because they were involved in planning and executing the jobs they have. And people asked them, how are things going? Can we do something better? Miraculously, it had a huge aspect as to how motivated they were in the workplace. It ties into Maslow's hierarchy of needs. There's a couple of things. First of all, Maslow defined what he felt are 5 different needs. You'll hear about this in this class. You'll also hear about this primarily in psychology, because really this is how we motivate employees. So that being said, the thought is that you cannot go past the lowest level until that level is fulfilled. And once it is, then go on to the next level. And then the same with that one. Once that's fulfilled, go on to the next one. And there's 5 of them. So that being said, here they are. The physiological, pretty much, here's an example of it. If somebody broke into your house and they decided they're going to drown you in your bathtub and you're holding your head underwater, all the dreams you had about having a sports car painted red that's a convertible really are put aside on your head for the moment, because in fact, the only thing you care about is the next breath of air. So you're going to just focus in and struggle to get that next breath of air, because it's the most important thing in your life right now, because you won't have a life if you don't get the next breath of air. So the physiological needs are the basic ones. And then once they're filled, then you go on to worrying about the safety ones. We'll quantify them in a second. And then once you have those safety needs done, then you look for the social ones. And then eventually, once those are filled, you fulfill the esteem ones. And then once those are fulfilled, then you go on to self-actualization. Now, if something happens, you're at the 4th level, the esteem needs. You're looking for people to sit down and recognize you. You're enjoying that recognition. And all of a sudden, you lose your job, you lose your money, you lose all kinds of things. All of a sudden now, you start dropping down because those needs are no longer fulfilled, and you go down lower on the pyramid. So that's going to have an impact later on. So Hertzberg then took the same thing from Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the physiological, the safety needs, and then those social needs that we have, the aspect of being part of something that's bigger than us, and then also that esteem needs, sometimes group esteem and sometimes individual esteem, and then that whole thing of self-actualization. He sat down, he took that and he changed it and turned it on end a little bit, and he split it into motivators and hygiene factors. I don't know about you, it sounds like a bunch of hocus pocus, because a hygiene factor I view is, did you take a shower today and wash your hair? Did you brush your teeth? Did you? Hygiene we associate with some of the basic functions of keeping clean, except he's talking about hygiene factors in relation to the job. He's talking about issues that if they're not resolved, then you're dissatisfied with them. And unless you fulfill that and get that off the table, you won't be able to use any motivators. It sounds a lot like this over here. He compared the first 2 levels, the physiological and safety needs, that you really can't motivate employees until they feel safe, they have a solid salary, and then you can start worrying about the social needs. They're going to pay more attention to that on those aspects there. So the hygiene factors, here's how he divided it. So when you talk about it, and some of these don't seem to make any sense until you sit down and put them in the context. The hygiene factors, he calls them maintenance factors, company policy. Who would think that company policy would be relevant to anything? Most of us hate company policy. The company policy made me do this. Okay, supervision. Who would think that a boss paying attention to your work is actually a good thing? Most of us don't like supervision. They don't want our boss telling us what to do or breathing down our neck. The working conditions, the interpersonal relations, the salary status. But let me give you a couple examples of it. Once upon a time at Irvine Valley College, we didn't have all of our parking lots paved. And one day it was raining. Because it was raining, I arrived past the time I expected to be there. And I have to park in a gravel parking lot. The parking lot had holes in it, and the holes were full of water. The rain's coming down. I got stuck out in outer Mongolia on the campus. And I get out of my car. I step into a puddle ankle deep. So I got one shoe full of water. I'm going through the rain, and I couldn't think of anything positive to say. Not that anybody would dare think about asking me in that condition. My working conditions were miserable. Now, amazingly, they paved that parking lot, and now we have asphalt parking lots on a regular basis. But I never said thank you to anybody. I never said, wow. I don't pull in the parking lot and say, wow, I love the asphalt parking lots. Wow. So I don't care. It's because I wanted my working conditions to get off my mind and I could worry about other things. We don't say thank you for supervision until the supervisor sits down and you look over at somebody else over there that's not carrying their load. Says, I wish the boss would get on their case. I'm so sick and tired of trying to do their work for them. The boss finally does, and all of a sudden, I'm glad that's there. We don't say thank you for the boss for doing their job or making them do their job. These are things that happen in the aspect of if it's not resolved, we will always be dissatisfied, but you can remove the dissatisfaction and not necessarily motivate them. But look at the motivators. A lot of times people are motivated by the work itself. Sometimes you're drawn to a certain profession, and all of a sudden that profession, you really enjoy the work. When you finish this, let's say it's accounting, and for some reason you like accounting. So you finish having your balance sheet all done, you have your journal entries all in and everything else, and you say, that's finally done. I can go do something else. But the work itself, you enjoy doing it. You like to have the achievement. Sometimes you like to be rewarded publicly for achievement, but other times you just prefer to sit down and have that inner part because you're motivated by that internal part, that internal motivation, and that intrinsic motivation versus the extrinsic motivation. Sometimes you want recognition. Sometimes you want more responsibility because you get bored doing the same thing. You want to go to the next step. Sometimes you want growth and advancement. Those are motivators versus the hygiene factors. So when you start looking on the Maslow hierarchy on the left-hand side, you can see the physiological, the safety, the social, the esteem. Your textbook has a lot of that in it and much more defined that we're going to cover here. Look over here how he defined the hygiene factors. Really, the company policy, all these things that he calls hygiene factors are on the lowest level. And you start looking at the things above that, when you start getting the social, the esteem, the self-actualization, he says those are the things that truly motivate us. And that's what happens between the two, the Maslow Hertzberg. It's a really good issue to study in the aspect of if you want to be a great leader, find out what motivates people and where they're at. It's a big deal. So reinvigorate work life, sometimes take on new challenges to eliminate boredom, redecorate your space to get out of the same old, don't complain, think of reasons to celebrate, help others advance their career. There's another one here that's called McGregor's Theory X and Theory Y. I want you to pay close attention to this one because you're going to go through this. If you look at the Department of Labor statistics, it says that the baby boomers, by the age they hit 40, they'll have sit down and gone through 8 to 12 different jobs. What it also says is that Gen Z will hit 3 times that number. Now, think about 3 times that number, what it means. 3 times 8 is 24. So by the age of 40, Gen Z is going to have 24 jobs. I don't know how that's possible because literally you talk about jobs, you're talking about something serious. You're talking about something more than slinging hamburgers, although maybe that is your job. But by the time you're all done, you're going to have 20 jobs between the age of about 18 to 40. That's a lot of jobs. That means you're changing. If that's the case, I promise you, you will have a Theory X boss somewhere, and you also have a Theory Y boss somewhere. It is going to happen. So pay attention because they're coming to get you by the time you're all done. The Theory X bosses, these workers, they don't like to work and they want to avoid it all the time. I got to be on their case the whole time. I have to sit down and go after them and make them do their work. And if they don't do their work, I'm going to sit down and do bad things to them. I've got a waterboard here back in the office. I'll use that if I have to. Wait a minute, HR maybe take that away. Oh, that being said, maybe I can do, I'm going to give them direction all the time. I'm going to give them a list of things to do. Oh, and if they don't do it, I'm going to punish them. I'm going to punish them and I'll fire them. Don't do your job. That actually is how they think on the inside. Now, some of it's genetic. Some of it is because they had a traumatic childhood. Who knows what the reason is, but the reality is you will have a theory X boss. And by the way, I had one, and he was kind of rude and he was kind of linear. He was a choleric nonstop. Get the work done. Get the work done, David. I don't want to have to come down there. And he didn't have to come down there or anything else. It never happened, except for the fact that was his nature. And frankly, I just got the work done, and him and I got along just fine. So you can have a theory X boss, and yes, they sound rough and crude. You just sit down, make them happy, and then do what you want to once you're happy. So that means that theory X over here, you had this guy over at Ford, Charlie Ergen, or excuse me, the founder of Dish. Okay, he was a pushy guy and everything else. He got a lot of stuff done and he helped save the company multiple times. But all that being said, sometimes a theory X person, like even in Elon Musk, he's been accused of it. Stephen Jobs, some of your great entrepreneurs push things nonstop and expect the people to do work and to work hard. Theory X, theory Y, they approach things differently. People like work. It's just kind of part of life. I'm going to make sure my employees have goals and find goals that really fit them really well. And I'm going to work with them to give them the right rewards every time they accomplish something really well. And I'm going to watch out for those people that want more responsibility. And I'm going to give it to them. I'll watch them. I'll help them be successful at it. But the more successful I can make my employees, the more successful I'm going to be, and the company is going to be too on top of that. I want to give them the opportunity to use their creativity to sit down there and help make decisions as a department, as a team, as we go forward. And really, I think most workers are underutilized. I'm going to try to tap into everything they have. It's a totally different aspect. And there are people that are wired this way. And I promise you, you will have a theory Y boss someday. A couple things on this, on some of the empowerment aspect. Find out what people think the problems in the organization are, let them design the solutions, and a lot of times get out of the way, let them do the work that they have. Some people need to have a theory X boss to make them do their job. Some of them need to have you get off their case and leave them alone. And you'll see who they are as you have a boss and you have a larger size department, you'll see who they are. There are some people you just sit down and say, okay, we've already talked about this. If it happens again, I'm going to put in writing and put in your personnel file. I want it done the way it's supposed to be done, and we've already talked about that. Now, if you have a different way of getting it done, you let me know, but don't do it that way unless I approve it, because I've already talked to you about some of the concerns I've had. So let's get it done the right way. You can sit down and use that for theory X, and somebody else's, how are things going? Pretty good. Okay. Let me know if you have problems. And you walk away from them and you have that conversation once every 6 months, and life is good. It just depends on the person. And sometimes we call this a contingency approach, as to you motivate things and you treat people the way they need to be treated to make certain that they're embracing all the values that you want them to have. Know about the Hawthorne studies, know about the hierarchy of needs, and especially know about theory X and theory Y. And it'll help you here in this class, but also long term in your business career pathway. Take care.